Welcome back. This is TDOD Plays. We are doing part 6 of MassEffect Jenkins Edition. Editing man here. Notice that I had maybe made a copy-paste error when recording this script like a week ago. I've took it from the original Patreon as the author recommended that because he had kept that more updated compared to Royal Road. So there are going to be slight differences, which I had neglected to mention when I first started recording the series, as the author had informed me it would be best to take from his Patreon, where it's free, by the way, just to keep updated and everything. But other than that, I'm just leaving this here as an apology because I recorded all this stuff like a week ago and I only just put it together and I now notice my error. Sorry! Jenkins, POV. That was very strange. Possibly the strangest thing since I woke up in a world of a video game. That may seem unbelievable, but it was the first time events of the actual game occurred to me. To see the lines of where things are different and where they are the same is strange. Dr. Chakwa's lines are basically the same, however, the opening lines were wholly different as our conversation wasn't the same. Jenkins never discussed biotics. In his defense, he had at most a dozen lines or two throughout the whole game. That whole dying early thing made it so you didn't learn much about him or his interests. Not that I was behaving similarly to the original Jenkins. My own interests, involvements, and efforts to prepare for what was coming meant that I had already changed how the world would react to me. More so than I thought possible. It was a problem I was still coming to terms with, even half a year into living here. I still thought of this world as a video game. That Commander Shepard was the protagonist, and I was a nameless extra. But this isn't a video game. At least as far as I can tell, this all feels and acts completely real. Which means me doing shit like improving a galaxy-wide piece of equipment like the Omni tool was, of course, going to draw attention. My efforts to learn biotic science and try to help Caden means that I interact with Chakwas on a more personal level and more as a scientific peer or student compared to just some grunt. And then there's Shepard. My childness may match Jenkins enough to go unnoticed, but my fascination with things like the Normandy and the Commander herself have not gone unnoticed. She seems more guarded and uncertain of me than she did in-game. And why wouldn't she? I couldn't help but stare any time she entered a room. My thing for redheads aside, the Commander is quite possibly my favorite game protagonist of all time, so seeing her in person is awe-inspiring every time. I'm expecting her to confront me on it eventually. There's no chance she'll be cool with working with someone who is acting odd around her constantly. Corporal Jenkins, can I see you in the med bay ASAP? My Omni tool comes to life as the Commander's voice comes through, firm in its tone. I'll be right there, Commander. Nuts. Sooner rather than later, it would seem. She should have just finished the debriefing and been going down to the hangar to prep the mission. Instead, she's calling me to the medbay first. Private area, she walks to talk without being heard. That cannot be good. But unfortunately, it can't be ignored either. I make my way down to the medbay. A short walk given, I was still standing with Dr. Chakwas right by the stairs. Good luck, Corporal. Try not to need too much medical attention. The doctor gives me a wink and moves aside to let me pass. I arrive in the medbay not much more than a minute after the request to see only the Commander waiting for me. Part of me was hoping it was just a debriefing that the game skipped, where Shepard fills Caden and Jenkins in on a mission. But it appears I wouldn't be so lucky. As soon as the door slides shut behind me, Shepard presses a button on the console to gray out the window that looks into the common area of the ship. She turns to look at me, crossing her arms and staring me down. She was shorter than I was, probably 2 or 3 inches or so, but she carried herself with far more strength and power. She was intimidating. While we were both technically soldiers of the Alliance, Shepard was miles above. She was an N7, a commander, and lived through a koozie. She had more experience in conflicts than most veterans, where I was a common grunt. And while Jenkins fought his fair share of Batarian slavers and otherwise, that was before I took over. I had never seen real combat, not like the woman in front of me. And yet, in that moment of fear, of anxiety, in the brief moment she had Her eyes locked in me. I couldn't help but feel awed, too. She was a living legend in this world and the games I played so dearly. Jenkins, we need to have a discussion. Her tone is sharp and harsh, departure from previous interactions. About about what, Commander? The mission we are about to take part in has suffered some complications. While I was fine with putting up with your quirks for a dry run, I cannot bring you into an active conflict while I'm unsure of your intentions. She kept her arm crossed and watched me intently. My what? My intentions with what, Commander? I quickly added the commander, trying not to forget or fall out of proper procedure. This was clearly not to be a casual conversation. Aboard the Normandy, in the Alliance, you're not a D Corporal. You speak of wanting to prove yourself in the Alliance, and yet seem to have no care for taking credit for your engineering designs. You work on projects and make breakthroughs better served in supporting roles of this army, and yet when offered a position by Anderson in Alliance R&D, you refuse. Your actions, your words, and decisions don't match. Nuts. She knew more about me than I thought she would. The things with Anderson happened weeks before I met Shepard or boarded the Normandy. She had looked into me. Then there's how you behave around me. I'm your superior officer. More specifically, I am your direct commander. Well, I have grown used to the eyes following my back, either in pity or curiosity, of the sole survivor of a coup. What I am not used to is the eyes of a wonder-struck child. You're a grown man and a soldier, and yet you act as if you've never seen an N7 or an experienced soldier. Her tone raises slightly as she finishes the sentence, anger flashing through for a moment, although it doesn't feel directed at me. So what I need, Corporal, is for you to explain why I should trust you to watch my back and fight alongside me in combat without getting either of us killed. If you don't do that, then Olenko and I will be landing on Eden Prime alone, and I will personally request you to have transferred you to a different ship. No! I shout before I can stop myself, catching both myself and the commander by surprise, although she quickly hides her reaction. I mean, no, Commander. I feel my place is best served aboard the Normandy. I straighten my posture, returning to a proper military stance again. I apologize for my outburst, Commander, but I need to work aboard the Normandy. It's nothing but the truth. I had to be here. It was the only place my knowledge could really be useful. I wouldn't stand being elsewhere. Why? You have yet to give me reason to be trusted, to follow orders, much less work aboard this ship. Well, this was going to be tough. I need to win her over without sounding like a psycho talking about things that will happen. Things I have to be there for. So, I know I'm odd. I know my actions and behaviors don't always make sense, but the truth is, I come across as a child because I am one. At least in my ideas of heroes roaming the galaxy saving innocents from unknowable threats. And as strange as it is, in the week I've been aboard the ship, I felt it. The ship, its crew, you. They are the exact things from those kinds of stories. So I understand your concern, but I can guarantee you I will follow your orders as you need in combat. Because rushing into combat alongside someone like you is the only dream I've had that might have a chance of coming true. I will not waste it. I think there was a time where I gave up on that dream, where I didn't think heroes could exist. Then, 6 months ago, word of the coups reached the base I was at. An Alliance soldier survived the impossible odds, as a scenario that should have killed anyone in it. Suddenly, there was a story of a soldier that fit exactly the idea I had of a hero since I was a child. Every interview with you or your officers furthered that idea. Humble, brave, capable beyond measure. 3 days later, I was recruited by Captain Anderson. Her eyes softened ever so slightly as I continued, although winced visibly at the mention of Aku's. It must have been a painful memory for her, but to me, with knowledge and information I had, it was the birth of a hero. It woke something in me. I wasn't an elite soldier or an unshakable survivor. I'm not a hero. But there are people out there who are. And if I can't be one, I can work hard. Hard enough that I could be useful to such person. Even for a moment to aid them with something I made or just by following their orders. I'm not a genius, Commander. Frankly, I'm pretty dense when it comes to most things. My breakthroughs and omni tools are just a determination to succeed, and happened to go about it in a way so foolish no one considered it. She looks down at the Omnitool extension on her forearm, then back over to me, any hostility seemingly vanished from her gaze. So I know I'm odd. I know my actions and behaviors don't always make sense, but the truth is that I needed to be there with you because I know exactly what you're capable of. As strange as it is, in the week I've been aboard this ship, I felt it. This ship, its crew, you, they're exactly the things from those stories of heroes and their missions. So I understand your concern, but I can guarantee you I will follow your orders as you need in combat. Because rushing into combat alongside someone like you is the only dream I've had that might have a chance at coming true, and I will not waste it. I finished speaking, taking a second to breathe. At some point during talking, it stopped being a lie. It stopped being an exaggeration to stay aboard this ship and became what I truly felt. I hope that was for the best. The truth was the only thing that had the chance to convince her, and all I could do was hope it would work. The commander's eyes watched me. She uncrossed her arms, looked away for a moment, thinking to herself before she turned to face me. Corporal, I'm not a hero like from a story or a vid. I'm a soldier. I've done unheroic things in the name of the mission before. I'm certain I will have to again. If you follow me, then you may have to as well. I'm aware of that, Commander. While I truly believe that you have the potential to be a hero like that, I understand what it means to be a good soldier that has to follow orders. But if you're making the orders, I believe any action I take will be for the greater good of as many as possible. Another round of silence follows as she refuses to take her eyes off me. Eventually, she speaks again as she holds out her arm. Then, welcome to my ground team, Jenkins. We're dropping in 10. Be ready. I grasp her hand and give it a firm shake. Aye, aye, Commander. She hits the button to clear the window and walk out of the medbay, refusing to look back. As I watch her go before catching my breath and following after. Finally, the story is about to begin properly. All that was left was ensuring that I survived the opening act. And that was part 6 of Mass Effect Jenkins Edition. Hope everyone enjoyed this. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as usual, down below will be the links to the original on Royal Road. I hope everyone has a good one. Cheers.